has ever argued with a stranger online? Okay. Yeah, approximately 2/3 of the room, maybe? Okay. And for whom of you has this ever been a positive experience? So I guess most of us are no strangers to nerve-wracking online discussions, whether it's on climate change or LGBTIQ issues or anything else, really. In my experience, they're rarely constructive or fruitful. But especially now, in times of deep polarization and online echo chambers, what can we do to build bridges, to break through these walls, and to foster real connection? I'm here today because an unconventional approach to an online hate conversation has led to one of the most inspiring encounters in my life, and I want to share that story with you today. It all started in the beautiful Austrian mountain city called Innsbruck, where I was part of a Facebook group. There, in this Facebook group, people had posted things they were looking for: a room to rent, a drill to borrow, a lost cat, literally anything. A social worker was looking for instrument donations. He was working with teens and wanted to found a band with them, so nothing out of the ordinary. However, these teens were unaccompanied minors, refugees. And this post received massive backlash. Approximately 20 adults felt the need to write hateful, racist comments about kids who just wanted to make music. It was inexplicable to me. One lady in particular stood out to me who had an Arschgeige to offer, which is German and literally translates to ass violin, meaning she doesn't care. But points for creativity on the wordplay, I guess. The Arschgeigen lady posted another comment saying, they get so much money from the state anyway. And that's where our conversation began. I responded with, well, I happen to volunteer with refugees, and they really don't get that much. Here's a link to the government website where you can see for yourself. Well, I happen to work at a bank, and I see how much money goes over the counter. Just because a person might look foreign doesn't necessarily mean they're a refugee. And besides, here we're talking about unaccompanied minors. I doubt that they have any savings. And back and forth our conversation went, and I kept asking myself, where is this hate coming from? It was like peeling off layers of an onion until we arrived at the presumed center. She had shared how she had been witness to an assault and that the assailant was apparently a refugee. At this point, I didn't feel like arguing anymore. Instead, I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you had experienced this. I have been a victim of crime too in the past, and these wounds can run deep. And although I can't take the bad experience away from you, what I can offer is new experiences. The people I volunteer with, men, women, children, have, with no exception, been warm-hearted, thankful, and kind. I can offer for you to meet one of them, my friend Ajmal from Afghanistan. We can have lunch together, and I'd be happy to offer you this experience, if you like. And I'm serious about this. Half an hour later, the post disappeared. The social worker had deleted it. The hate had become too unbearable. And I was left wondering, did she still see my comment? Did she see my olive branch? Did she have my contact information saved somewhere? But 3 hours after that, I received a message in my inbox. She took me up on my offer, and we actually met for lunch. I called up Ajmal. He was really excited. We decided to do a potluck where everyone brings something to eat. And there she was. The Arschgeigen lady turned out to be Anna, a polite, friendly, 20-something-year-old, also excited and nervous, with her dessert in her hand. I brought a salad. And unbeknownst to me, Ajmal's flatmates joined too. And together they prepared a huge meal. My mouth still waters when I think of it. We sat there and talked for hours, and Anna came prepared. She had loads of questions, and Ajmal and his flatmates were more than happy to answer as best as they could. and they weren't trying to be perfect humans, they were just being themselves. Ashmal and Anna grew to be friends, and the lady who formerly had an Ashgeige to offer to refugees actually not only ended up befriending one, but also helped Ashmal find a job. When reaching out to them prior to this talk, I found out that they're still in touch with each other, and it's been years. Anna had told me that this lunch profoundly changed something in her. She had asked herself, how did I end up here? I always saw myself as this open-minded person, and somehow all of this hate had accumulated inside of me. She had shared how the people in her village and her co-workers have started to grow more and more hostile towards refugees, and she felt pulled along. It was a matter of framing, she said. Her co-workers had started associating non-white customers with disrespect and danger. And within the pressures of their work, they started generalizing. So she started generalizing too. And with all this resentment and hate building up, online she went to let off steam, and she participated in online hate. But when meeting Ajmal and his friends, she got in touch with something so gentle, so mindful, not hurtful or invasive as the framing of her surrounding had told her they would be. Suddenly there was a name, a face, a person sitting across from me, and it was no longer possible to give them these negative attributes, let alone let out this uncontrollable frustration. So I know that the story of Anna, Ajmal, and me may be many things, except for ordinary. However, I think there were 3 things that enabled this encounter to happen. What was needed from my side was, first of all, to respect Anna's humanity and her lived experience so far, not to belittle her for it. Secondly, it was the open hand, an honest invitation for the new experience. And thirdly, it was needed for me to be there, to actually hold space for this encounter to happen. And with this invitation, Anna had an option. She had a new option to be curious, but also one where she had to be very brave. Not only by trusting me, also a total stranger off the internet at that point, but brave to challenge what she thought she knew about a particular group. And just as I had acknowledged Anna's humanity, Anna had acknowledged Ajmal's humanity prior to the meeting. She went into it ready to meet a human being who was behind a label she was very prejudiced about. Now, I'm not saying that the solution to every online argument is a potluck, but I do believe in the transformative power of honest, offline human connection. More than that, this experience has showed me the importance of creating spaces where people can actually meet, where they can be introduced to a name, a face, a person, to a label they might be prejudiced about. I see a powerful antidote to hate in the humanization of these labels. What I've experienced was that it starts with mutually respecting each other's humanity. And Anna wasn't there yet when she was participating in the online hate. And that's where the bridge builders come in. Because as a recipient of online hate, you might not have the capacity to be compassionate or patient with the person being incredibly hurtful to you or your group. But as a witness to online hate, you're in a different position. Because I'm not a refugee, but friends with one, I was able to engage with Anna with more emotional capacity and to take a stance against online hate. And to quote Dylan Marin's TED Talk on this, empathy is not endorsement. Just because you empathize with a person doesn't mean you need to compromise your views or your values, even if you profoundly disagree. So with that being said, I dare you to be curious, to be the first to be curious. The first to recognize that there's a human being on the other side of a screen, and to reach out a hand, just as I had reached out a hand to Anna and introduced her to Ajmal. My wish would be to open up more of these safer spaces so that we can be less angry, less afraid, and actually meet the people we are prejudiced about behind the labels. Thank you.